Yo, what's up? Welcome into the opening line, part of the Elite Fantasy Sports Network. Corey Parson, the fantasy executive. My main man, Benny Ricciardi, joined today by, what we call him, CEO Rob Brent.
What up?
Yeah. Yo, Rob, what's good with you, my man? What's going on? Glad to have you on the show, and thanks for giving us this real estate right here.
Yeah, man, it's wet as hell here today, but I got day baseball on, or morning baseball on, 4-4, and March Madness coming up, so it gets no better, right?
Yeah, and one of the high holy days in sports, me and Benny been talking about it all week. This is one of the favorite days of the year where the boys get together, everybody gets together. It's day drinking, it's college basketball, and there's plenty of bets going down. Benny, my main man, what's good with you?
And not too much, man. We got a lot of degenerate gambling going on here today, so we couldn't think of anybody better to invite on the show with us than Rob. So this will be perfect.
No doubt. So we got some best bets coming up. Want to talk some Sweet 16. Might even get into the Final Four a little bit. May get you a little bit of baseball futures. That is right around the corner. But Rob, let's start it off. What's going on with the Elite Fantasy Sports Network? What's the deal with the company? People ask me about the new website.
Yeah, exciting times, guys. So we rolled out our DFS website from Guru Elite to Elite Fantasy. So if you head over to elitefantasy.com, you'll see, our old site was basically built on like an AOL Messenger. Like you had to put in a disk and shit, and it would buzz up. So it was bad, right? So everything's been moved for the DFS perspective to elitefantasy.com. Now, for the time being, boys, we're leaving betting there on Guru Elite, but we've got a betting site. I don't want to tell the people a lie, maybe 15, 20 days away.
All right, so there you go right there. Elite Fantasy is where you get your DFS from. Still Fantasy Guru. Season long is still going to be housed by Fantasy Guru, correct?
That's right.
All right, so there you go right there. Make sure you subscribe on the YouTube channel so when the videos pop up, you catch them live. Don't forget, you still got a couple of minutes if you want to hop in to the $1 million bracket. You got the information right there beneath the description on the YouTube page. Benny was talking a little bit early on. Big game last night. A couple big games last night in the NBA where I want to start. But Jimmy Butler getting it done for the 76ers last night. Tremendous job by Elton Brand going out and getting buckets and going out and getting Tobias Harris.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big move for them. He's done things that'll help them win a championship. Everybody was trying to get Jimmy Butler a couple years ago, basically. They've been going after Jimmy Butler because Jimmy Butler is the kind of guy that can help you win a championship. He's a great defensive player. He's got the balls to take the shot when you need him to at the end of a game. I mean, there aren't a lot of guys in the league that are willing to go out and do that, and adding him was a steal. The Tobias Harris move is one that I think is really underrated. Like, when they added Jimmy Butler, everybody was like, all right, well, they're going with Butler and Simmons and Embiid, and that's going to be the team that, they kind of roll with and try to win a championship. I don't think anybody thought they could pull off a trade for another superstar, bring in another guy that's been an all-star in Tobias Harris. I mean, you got a lot of talent on that team. And then on top of it, you got 4 all-stars. And then you got J.J. Redick, who's arguably one of the best knockdown shooters in, the last 15, 20 years in the NBA. So you got a guy who complements all those other guys. And, that's they're not very deep, but that's a really good 5 that you can throw out on the floor that can match the 5 that just about anybody else is going to be able to throw out there.
J.J. Redick, former Duke Blue Devil on this high holy day in college basketball. Hey, Rob, is that D for Durham or is that like a script Duke D?
No, this is a Dodgers D. This is the old school Dodgers hat.
Okay, there you go. The old school.
I am a Dookie though. I'm a Duke fan. I live right in the Triangle. So NC State's like 15 minutes from my house. Duke's about 20 minutes, and UNC is about 25 minutes. So I'm like right in the middle. All this basketball.
I'm familiar with the area well. Once called it the most desirable place to live in the United States. And that's what really the Raleigh-Durham area is beautiful.
It's nice here, but let me tell you, if you want to try to get tickets to these Duke UNC games, that kind of stuff, you gotta hang that up, man. You can get the NC State games, but you can't go to Duke.
Nah, NC State, and it's a different ball game out there. My sister was a Tar Heel alumni, so I have had the chance to go to a basketball game, but never a Duke Carolina game. But here we go, high holy day in sports. I want to start off in the East region. I give my Final Four first. I want to get you guys' take. In the East, I have Duke, Virginia Tech, Belmont, and Michigan State going to the Final Four. Benny, we talked about earlier this week, Michigan State on this side of the bracket with Duke. I think that was a mistake.
I mean, I wasn't a big fan. I thought Michigan State should have been basically the way that this breaks out, because Duke was the number 1 overall seed. So what you're saying is Michigan State was the number 8?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, You have Michigan, who has a softer draw than Michigan State does, and Michigan State beat them 3 times this year. So at the very least, to me, if you would have just switched those 2 teams around, I would have been good with it. But I don't understand how you can give Michigan a softer spot than you give Michigan State when Michigan State beat them 3 times, including once last week in the Big Ten Championship.
What do you think about it, Rob? The Dukies, Tech, Belmont, and Michigan State University. I like Michigan State a lot. They would be a Final Four teams in just about any other region, but they're stuck over here with Duke. Also got the Cinderella in Belmont with Tech and Duke.
Yeah, I'm interested in your Belmont take. So we did a podcast with our guy Sports Cheetah, and I told that it was the Temple Belmont play-in game was still going on, and I was saying I hope Belmont wins because I want to bet Belmont over Maryland in the first round here. So I'm all in that, but I'm curious. You think LSU's moving on or Yale?
I think LSU moves on.
So you like Belmont to beat LSU next round, huh?
But I think here's the thing. This is the problem with me, and I've watched a lot of this LSU team mainly because of that dude, the dude that wear the little shorts. Like it's a dude on LSU that wears like the Daisy Dukes, like back in the 70s, the 80s joints. And I'm just like, why am I looking at this dude's stack? But all of a sudden it became every time LSU was on TV, I found myself watching it. Not because of that, but they're a tough team, defensive team. The thing about it with LSU is, I'm looking at the fact that they don't have their head coach.
They got that whole drama going on, right?
They don't have their head coach. They got all that drama going on with the NCAA. I think that is going to be a recipe for disaster for them. I look at how Belmont is one of the few teams that can score 90 points. So I do think Belmont knocks off the Tigers. But LSU had a very good season.
So let me play devil's advocate here, because if you're filling out brackets, for the NCAAs for this region, that quad right there I think is going to be a huge differentiator, because a lot of people are on this Belmont take that both of you guys are saying. I hear a lot of people talking about Yale being a trendy upset pick over LSU as well. When I get into one of these like bracket pools here, I want to know who the trendy picks are going to be, because those are the ones I'm going to play against. So like Belmont and Yale are 2 teams that are both underdogs by a couple points today that a lot of people are picking to win. And a lot of people are even picking Belmont and Yale to make it to the Sweet 16, like basically dismissing Maryland and LSU. So to me, 2 of the better leverage plays if you're filling out brackets are really LSU and Maryland, because they're going to be 2 of the higher seeds that you're going to get that may only be like 25 or 30% owned in some of these brackets.
Yeah, this is what I don't understand about Yale. They were telling me 2 days ago that money was flying in on Yale. And, I get it. There's a lot of drama at LSU. And if you want, to take a sexy pick, maybe it's Yale. But couldn't this go the opposite way, where these LSU kids rally around this situation and not turn it in, turn a negative into a positive? I mean, that's what I think is going to happen.
It could very well be the case. And Benny, you make an excellent point, because you're hearing the Belmont in a lot. You're hearing the Belmont a lot. You're hearing Murray State a lot. So you do have to fade some of these trendy teams. I just look at the situation with LSU as somebody that's watched them play a couple times this year. Very good, but I didn't like the way they looked going down the stretch. As far as Maryland goes, Maryland has been terrible in the second half. Well, I say the second half, but it's kind of since you got a little bit deeper, February and on, Maryland has been a bad basketball team.
Yep.
I'm all about that fade.
Yeah, I like LSU to be the team. I basically have the same other 3 teams that you have here with Duke, Tech, Michigan State. But I have LSU coming out of that quad right there. But I have LSU beating Belmont to come out of that quad. I have Maryland losing this round.
Me too. Same bracket.
Well, same bracket. So Duke advances.
Yeah, I got Duke, Michigan State in the Elite 8 there with Duke coming out.
Same. And that seems to be the way to go right there. Now, one bracket I do have Michigan State tipping Duke, but obviously it's 170 people in the damn bracket. So you know what I'm saying? Everybody can't have Duke.
Well, that's the trick, guys, is that, if you're doing a 10 or 15 team bracket contest, your game theory and your, style of picks is going to be way different if you're in – I'm in one with 10,000 people. So you have to really hit these pivot points, right?
No doubt. You definitely got to nail it in some of these key games. So that one that you got with 10,000 people in it, every single game counts. So your action is intense from tip-off to late tonight and throughout the whole tournament.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's $200 a bracket.
Oh, and it's 10,000 people in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one right there. Benny, that's one of the ones we talked about the other day. That
We might have to get into that one for next year too. That's a good one. I like that.
I mean, I'm just kidding. This doesn't exist.
It's a bracket we heard about. So everybody. So nothing stands out there. Duke, Tech, Belmont, MSU. Benny, you got LSU in that. Other than that, everything is straight.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the more straightforward brackets that are out there. I think it does end up Duke, Michigan State in the Elite Eight. Again, on one of those other brackets that doesn't exist out there that costs a little bit of money to get into. Me and my buddies took Michigan State on one of those teams, figuring, we didn't want to be on Duke. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but how ESPN does that $1 million bracket thing. Yeah. This year they were actually giving you how many people were picking teams to win, as they were doing it. Duke is picked on over, I think it was 54% of brackets or something.
Crazy. It's something crazy. I did see that. Duke is a real heavy favorite. So,
let me ask you guys this about the Dukies, though. Being here, I'm pretty tied in, but when Zion was out, and I know the Zion injury was sort of a freak thing, and he seems to be fully recovered from that. But when Zion was out, this team was a shell of themselves. They just looked like shit. And then when Zion came back, they only beat UNC by 1 point, last week? So I don't think they're as invincible as other people might think they are. They're a great team. They're the second or third best team in the tournament. Don't get me wrong, but I think they can be dumped at some point. Michigan State could be the team.
And another thing about that is, and you bring up an excellent point. I look at the second round matchup against a possible second round matchup against UCF. UCF got the young man Taco Fall. I think he's 7'6", 7'7", something like that.
19 feet.
He's the ultimate rim protector. He gets a lot of rebounds. They're very difficult to score against. I think that UCF team is going to give Duke a fight in the second round. That's something that you can't prepare for, playing a team that has a player that's almost 8 feet tall.
Yeah, and I mean, Rob, you made a couple good points there too. It's it's not like they're unbeatable even with Zion back. And really, you're one injury away. And that's the thing, is a team that's a 50-something% favorite. They're one injury. What if this was the game that Zion blows out his sneaker? This team would not be the same, probability to make a deep run into this tournament. So when you're playing in one of these brackets and you know that they're going to be a 50% owned favorite, there is some value if, again, it's like the GPP mentality. There's only so many spots up at the top, and you're very unlikely to end up in one of them if you're on a 50% favorite as, the team that wins. If you have a Michigan State and they knock Duke off and you're one of, 15 or 20 people that have them, you got a good chance to take down a big prize.
If you're doing two brackets, I'd put Michigan State over Duke in at least one of them.
Definitely. Agree with you. That seems to be the theory. That's what I got in a couple of the brackets that I have faded Duke. In the West, I have Baylor, Florida State, Buffalo, and Florida.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Going Baylor over the Zags, huh?
Baylor, listen.
I did too.
The thing about it is, okay, I'll go to sleep early, right? So I don't get to watch a lot of West Coast basketball. So I trust my West Coast basketball people. They beat Duke. They lost to North Carolina. They lost to Tennessee. They ran through their little trash conference. I know they're a real popular, real trendy pick, but I haven't seen enough Gonzaga basketball. I think they can be tipped.
Okay. Well, I think the interesting thing there, though, is nobody really batted an eye at Baylor, who's actually a 2-point underdog as we speak right now to Syracuse later on today. And I actually have them beating Syracuse as well. So I think, the Baylor pick I'm definitely on board with, but I got Gonzaga beating them. I went Gonzaga, Florida State. Who do I have here? I have Texas Tech over Buffalo because I think that's a good leverage spot too. I think a lot of people are taking Buffalo. Yeah, going Buffalo in the Sweet 16. I always want, when I can get a favorite over a team that's a trendy pick, I always wind up doing it. Texas Tech is going to be favored against Buffalo. I like this Buffalo team, don't get me wrong, but I'm going to take the favorite in my brackets whenever I have a chance against a team that, is probably going to get overbet because they're hot, and that's what Buffalo is. And then I actually have my upsets on the bottom side of this bracket. I actually have Nevada going and beating Michigan in the second round and going on to the Sweet 16.
Interesting one right there. Nevada beating Michigan and headed on. Rob, what do you think of this West region?
Well, I'm with your Baylor take, at least in my one bracket I'm looking at here, is I've got Baylor over the Zags. The pivot I'm on here that a lot of people I hope are not is I'm taking Marquette over Florida State as a potential upset there. So I just think Florida State is going to be a trendier pick than Marquette. So I've got Baylor, Marquette, Texas Tech, and Michigan.
Baylor, Marquette, Texas Tech, and Michigan. I've seen some Texas Tech. They're real tough. They play good basketball. One thing I like about Texas Tech is they're a team that can shoot without scoring the three, which you're going to see, especially if you haven't watched a lot of college basketball. It's like AAU. All they do is hoist the three. Very few teams can play in a half-court set. And Texas Tech is one of those teams that can play in the half-court. But Florida State, listen, Leonard Hamilton does a great job. That Florida State team has been gritty and tough this year. I think Florida State can win the championship. That's how good I think this Florida State team is this year. Then they got a couple of NBA players on that team. Now, the Buffalo thing is interesting. Buffalo, another team, they play well in the half court and they can stroke the three. So, and then Florida bringing up the rear is trying to get a little variance. Nobody has Murray State and John Morant going deep into the tournament, going deep. John Morant probably the best player in this bracket. I think he gets running up against Florida State is tough.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. I don't even have them beating Marquette. I have Marquette winning that game. Marquette's one of my favorite bets on the day. Okay. And I loved Marquette as a leverage play because everybody who knows about this tournament, you know, the two names that everyone's talking about are Zion Williamson and John Morant. So everybody's like, oh, that's the trendy 5-12 pick right there is, oh, I'm going to take Murray State and John Morant. I'll tell you what, if you haven't seen this kid play, he is very, very good. He basically can do it all. And for his team, he pretty much tries to do it all. If I were you, I would make sure I watch Murray State play Marquette today because it's going to be your only chance to see this guy play in the tournament.
No doubt. Well, here's the interesting thing about Ja. I went to school in South Carolina State University, and my roommate, best friend, he's a big basketball head. He won a state championship in South Carolina on the team with Ray Allen. On that team also was John Morant's father. And he would always tell me for about 3 or 4 years now, he was like, yo, my nephew is pretty good, and we think he has a shot. And sure enough, towards the end of last year, he was like, yo, we think my nephew can go pro. And I'm like, who's your nephew? And he's like, John Morant.
Yeah, he's going pro.
It's early as November, December of this year. I was talking with an NBA scout, and they was like maybe an 8th, maybe a 12, 13 pick, somewhere in the middle of the first round, not lottery. Now they're talking second overall pick in the draft. They're going up to Hartford today to go see him play, so they're going to stop through here on the way back. But now Morant can play. And the Murray State, the thing about and the coach is real good. And I'll be funny with y'all. I was talking to my boy the other night, and I was talking about the coach of Murray State. And he was like, told him how good he was. And my boy was like, you know, I'll be honest, this is what he said. He was like, yeah, it was good that he was able to get a player like Morant for free.
Today's day and age right now with the NCAA, that's not an easy thing to do.
What are you talking about? Calipari never played a player.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Florida State tough, Buffalo tough, Florida, Baylor. What do you think of the Zags, Rob? You seen enough of the Zags to draw an opinion on them?
I've seen enough of the Zags historically in this tournament to draw an opinion on them. I don't know how much I've seen of them this year. I'm told Gonzaga is the second or third best team in the country. People in the know, and I have no reason to doubt that the Zags were the second or third best team in the country. I personally haven't seen enough of them to make a determination, but I do think just from a game theory perspective, I'm all good putting Baylor over them in this bracket.
All right, there you go right there. The opening line right here, part of the Elite Fantasy Sports Network. Corey Parson, Rob Breck, and Benny Ricciardi. Don't forget, if you want to get involved, you want to get these plays, you can get a NCAA package as far as our bets go with some of the top handicappers right now. 7-day recurring for $25. The best bet in the business. You want to hop on over to GuruElite.com right now and check that out. On to the Midwest bracket. I'll kick it off. The North Carolina Tar Heels, New Mexico State, Iowa State, and Kentucky. Elite 8 features another Kentucky-UNC battle. Let's start right there with the Tar Heels, and who I think, if it wasn't for Duke, would be the best team in this tournament.
That pace of play, I think was it Duke they were playing the ball literally barely fell through the net, and the UNC had been down the court and scored. That pace of play, and they've consistently been able to keep that pace they're just going to wear teams the hell out. I mean, and if you're a 3-point shooting team, and they're going to run it out on you. I mean, if your game is making threes or missing threes, UNC is gonna handle their business. So I totally agree. I've got UNC making a deep run.
Yeah, I mean, I have them making a deep run too. I don't even think they're going to have a good game until they get to that Kentucky game in the Elite Eight. I don't even think anybody – I think they're going to win all the other games by, 12, 15 points kind of going away. Because when you get to this level, like a lot of these mid-major teams, they got 5 or 6 guys. That's as deep as they can go that can match the intensity that the guys UNC are throwing out on the floor can do. So they can keep it close in the first half. They may be able to hang around. But like Rob was saying, eventually that pace, that constant up and down, the fact that they can roll in big body after big body, you just get worn down playing against them unless you have the same kind of athletes. So when they get to a game against Kentucky has those athletes. Some of these mid-major schools, they're going to play along the way to get there. They just don't have enough depth or talent.
The only thing I worry about with the Tar Heels is these North Carolina Kentucky games, they can go either way. North Carolina won it the last time, and maybe just so it swings back the Kentucky way this time. Rob, do you see where North Carolina is just that much better than Kentucky?
I don't even have Kentucky making it to play UNC.
Okay, who you got down there? What's your 4 in this region?
Wofford.
The Wofford thing is interesting. We can't bet Wofford up here, though, because today we can't because they're playing Seton Hall.
This is not my play, but I've talked to a lot of smart people that I respect, and they're telling me to take Wofford. So I've got Wofford in my Elite 8, boys.
Yeah, I don't think it's crazy. I mean, I don't think this Kentucky team is all that good. Like there's certain teams that, like Kansas is another one. Like
Kansas is trash.
Yeah, and they're a 4 seed. Like people are just, because of the name recognition, and especially if you're filling out brackets. Like when you're filling out brackets, people just say Kentucky and just assume it's like every other year. Oh, Kentucky's great. Let me put them through. Yeah,
and they got the 2 seed, so they're going to be sexy.
Yeah, Kansas is great. We're going to put them through. These are the kind of teams that I think are vulnerable, whether it's in the, even in the round of 64, even in the first game today and tomorrow. These are teams that I think are vulnerable and beatable.
New Mexico State is a team I got advancing to my Sweet 16. They eventually end up losing to North Carolina. New Mexico State has 30 wins. They haven't lost a game since January 3rd. A team like that going up against Kansas, a team that can win. Now, listen, they're very reliant on the 3-point shot, but I like New Mexico State. And Iowa State has always been tough. They're always tough in this tournament. So I think Iowa State is also a team that gets to the Sweet 16, could possibly make an Elite 8 run also. What do you guys think about Iowa State?
Iowa State, I don't mind. I like that, but I want to talk about the New Mexico State thing first, right?
Okay.
New Mexico State is a 6-point underdog today.
Yes.
They're going to be a very popular pick that people are taking to upset. Auburn is not a great team, but they're a 6-point favorite today, and they're probably going to be, ownership-wise, they're probably going to be a coin flip with New Mexico. New Mexico is probably going to be about 50% owned. Auburn's going to be about 50% owned. These are the kind of situations I try to take advantage of. So I have a bet on Auburn today, and I also like Auburn to move on in this thing because I feel like I'm going to knock out a bunch of people that went the New Mexico State route. Like I try to take my 5-12 teams from games that other people aren't taking them from, and the ones where everybody is on the sexy 12 seed to win, those are the ones I try to avoid. And while I like New Mexico coming into this tournament, just in a game theory kind of situation, I think this is a really good team to fade. And I even went so far as taking Auburn to win 2 games here because I hate Kansas as well. So, if you're going to take the team that's favored in this round and you hate Kansas, who I honestly think could lose that game today, and that's not a joke. Northeastern is one of those teams that just fires up threes. If they're hitting, they could beat Kansas and knock Kansas out. So for me, I think Auburn is the team that I like the most here in the Sweet 16.
I've seen a lot of Auburn play. Here's the thing with Auburn, in my opinion. When Auburn is hitting those threes, they're impossible to beat. When Auburn's not hitting those threes, you can drag them.
Oh, no argument. I mean, but there's a lot – and that's the thing. When you're looking for these upsets here, that's one of the big things you got to look for. There are certain teams that are going to fire up 30, 40 threes today. They're literally just going to chuck them up as much as they can. And those are the kind of teams where if you get hot and you hit 40, 50% of those threes, you could beat anybody. You could wind up knocking off 1 and 2 seeds. But at the same time, those are the same teams that could go out and lose these games by 20 points because if those shots aren't dropping, then these teams are going to wind up losing to the teams that have more athleticism, more size inside, that are just going to eat up those rebounds and and make their layups and just kind of dominate them in the lane.
Auburn opened up at -8. Now they're laying 6. 58% of the money on the Auburn Tigers. What do you think about this one from a betting standpoint?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat Benny is. I bet Auburn today. I'm taking Auburn over Kansas. And then I think the style of play that we just talked about with UNC, with the UNC Auburn matchup, I mean, if you think that Auburn and UNC match up and you agree with, if Auburn is so 3-point dependent, which I believe they are, UNC is going to run the ball the hell out on them. So I've got Auburn, UNC facing off, but I've got UNC advancing.
All right, moving on to the next round. I got UVA, Wisconsin, Purdue, and somebody in Tennessee. Tennessee is probably my favorite team in this tournament. I think Tennessee is a Final Four team. Admiral Schofield, the way that team has played this year, coming out of a very tough SEC. The ACC gets the top, gets 3 number 1 seeds, but the SEC, a real strong balanced conference this year. They kind of had a real good run in there. I like Tennessee, Virginia, Wisconsin, Purdue. Tennessee knocking off UVA to get to the Final Four. What do we got, Rob?
I've got Virginia, UC Irvine, Purdue, and Tennessee. So I think Irvine upsets K-State today, and I've bet that on the money line.
Oh, wow.
I like that.
That's a good one right there. Now, a lot of people, not a lot, but I have heard some UC Irvine love out there. Speaking of money lines, God damn it, man. Yo, I knew that Alabama was going to lose last night. I just couldn't pull the trigger. I knew it, though. I knew Alabama was going to lose last night. Avery Johnson is like a cool dude, a good coach. I've seen Alabama play. They played Murray State earlier this year. They're a real suspect team, and darn it, I could – what was that, 1,700?
Mm-hmm.
You guys were talking about this on the No Mercy pod yesterday with the NIT or whenever that was, a couple days ago when it came out. Motivation's a big deal in that tournament because there's a big letdown if you don't get into the NCAA. Some teams are just like a lot of the mid-majors and some of the smaller schools, they're just happy to be there in the NIT and they're coming out playing. Some of these big schools, though, they're so disappointed they didn't get into the tournament that the kids are just like, man, we don't really care. And honestly, if you don't care and the other team's motivated, that's why you see some of these higher seeds in the NIT that just they come out and they just look flat and they get rolled.
Absolutely. I mean, motivation, especially for young kids like this, motivation's everything. So these big schools coming out flat, or maybe you may even have a situation where somebody's decided not to play, really, right? Like if they're prepping for the pros or whatever, they're just not even going to play the game. So it's important to be aware of those situations.
Elite Fantasy Sports Network, the opening line. Thanks for rocking with us. Make sure you subscribe on the YouTube page. Make sure you check out the new site, elitefantasy.com. It's going to be your DFS hub. Don't forget, if you're getting ready for your upcoming fantasy baseball seasons, it's fantasyguru.com. Mans, Flowers, and Settler. They get you all the way through the end, and obviously fantasy football will be starting up soon. If you want to get down with some betting, still got that over on guruelite.com. You can sign up for the package. Recurring $25. Listen, that's not bad. Best price in the business for some of the top handicappers. So this conference is going to shut us down because it's saying that, we need to upgrade. You know what I mean? So still got a couple minutes left to go in this one. I want to hop into some right quick. I wrote down a couple of MLB totals. I want to get you guys' opinions on it. The Atlanta Braves, 85.5. Maybe Braves broke out last year. Playoff team. With that being said, they didn't do nothing in the offseason. And you saw the rest of the division kind of get better. What do you think about the Braves sitting at 85.5?
I'm pulling up my futures now. Go ahead, Benny.
Yeah, so to me, I think the Phillies are the team that I like the most coming out of the NL East here. I saw that 80. Would you get it at 85.5? They have
85.5 this morning. You saw the 84.5?
Yeah, I saw 84.5. I don't know if we might have been on different book. We might have been on FanDuel and you might have been on DraftKings or whatever, vice versa. To me, that's kind of tough. Like you look at that division, I think the Nats and the Phillies are probably the two best in that division, in my opinion at least. And both of them are projected for like 88, 89 wins. The good thing is, everybody in this division is going to get to beat up on the Marlins a couple dozen times this year. So that's some free wins right there. But the other 4 teams in this division are all pretty close, like 85 to 89 wins. And when I have a division where a bunch of teams are close, like I feel like, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but nobody's going to sweep. It's not like you got so many teams in this division that are bad outside of the Marlins that, all the other teams are going to be undefeated against them this year. So I have a feeling that all these teams are going to beat each other, and they're all going to end up like right around that 80, 85 win mark. So I don't know. I like the Nats and the Phillies a little more than the Braves. So I think I'll probably take the under on that, but I think it's a good number. I think it's close.
So with this division, I've got most of my bets in this NL East division. So I'll go through how I got the standings going, and I'll tell you what my bets are. I've got the Nats at 89.5, the Phillies at 86, the Braves at 85, the Mets at 85, and the Marlins at 64 wins. I bet the Braves to win the division at plus 375 for a full play. Like Benny just said, I'm not as high on the Nationals. I'm not as high on the Phillies. The Braves are right there with them. You give me 37-1 on my money, I'm in. So I'm taking 375 there. And then I've also bet the Metsies to win that division. I mean, I don't see why they can't, right? I mean, they've got pitching, they've got bats. And I bet that at 325. So I've got 2 nice plays in that division to win it.
Yeah, I was looking at that division this morning too before we came on. The Phillies are plus 175 on DraftKings right now. The Braves and the Nats are plus 275, and the Mets are plus 350. So basically, they think it's wide open as well. It's going to be close. It should be a good race in the NL East, and it really comes down to who stays healthy or not.
Rob, definitely want to get you back on the program to talk some MLB futures with us sometime soon before the season starts. But since we're running up against the clock right now, I want to get out some couple best bets for day 1 of the NCAA tournament. I told earlier about that New Mexico State team. I'm catching those points with New Mexico State coming in at 5.5. January 3rd is the last time this team lost. I'm not the biggest fan of Auburn. I'm going Belmont, catching that 3. Also Murray State at 3.5, and Baylor to win tonight over the Syracuse Orangemen. The thing about the Baylor Syracuse, you got 2 teams that both play that 2-3 zone. So you always want to get an advantage. Like, okay, well, the next team is not going to be prepared for the 2-3 zone. Well, that next team already knows the 2-3 zone is coming now.
Good, Rob.
No, exactly right. That's my analysis as well. I totally agree.
Yeah, I was going to say, I got a couple bets that I like tonight. Like I talked about Auburn already. I like that Auburn team. I'm going to take that 5.5. I think that's a pretty good spot. Belmont getting 3 is awesome. Like Belmont plus 3 to me is an awesome line. I think they can win outright too. So I'll probably drop a little bit on them on the money line. But you're going to give me 3 points on a team that I think is going to win that game already. So I'm taking Belmont with the plus 3. I also love Marquette at minus 3.5.
Yeah,
like I think that
me on that one.
Yeah, I think Marquette should be 5 or 6. But because everybody loves John Morant and he's got a lot of hype behind them, I think that, basically they're just getting a really good number. I think they should be favored by more. So I'm willing to take the 3.5 there. I think Marquette wins that game. But then, like I said, if you want to throw in a little long shot bet, I really think Northeastern could knock off Kansas today. Like they're a 3-point shooting team. I'm not a huge fan of Kansas. I don't think this Kansas team is that good. If Northeastern's hitting shots, like that could be one of those games that we're sitting here and we're watching and Northeastern wins by – Northeastern's either going to win that game by 10 or lose it by 20. And it really comes down to whether or not they're hitting their threes.
It's a go crazy game. I could see that happening also. You're on the other side of me on this on Marquette. The Big East was terrible this year. So I'm fading the Big East altogether. What we got, Rob? You got any best bets, or is that a part of that's premium?
No. I'm giving it right here. And this is, I already said UC Irvine money line. I'm
Nice.
betting that. I'm taking Belmont with the points and the spread or in the money line. So I'm betting both of those. I'm on the Auburn play as well. And what was my last one? Oh, I'm taking I'm taking Baylor. Sorry, I'm betting Baylor today.
There you go, right there.
Are you taking money line in Baylor, or are you grabbing a 2 as well? Because they're getting 2 as well.
Yeah, I'm taking the points.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I may do both. Right now I have them at plus 2, but I may put some money on that plus 112 with the one guard getting suspended yesterday for Syracuse.
it would have been 3 days, 3 parlays for your boy, but I don't know what the hell made me bet on Furman last night.
I don't know anything about Furman, so I can't even tell you what you saw.
I should have rolled with Wichita State. My first thought, whatever I wake up with, is normally what I should go with. You know what I mean? Like, I was like Furman, the 76ers, Norfolk, and North Carolina Central. So it would have been a better day if I didn't leave Furman. And I chickened out on the 76ers down the stretch. Any NBA y'all like tonight?
I'm going to be perfectly honest. Right after we get off here, I got to get back on and go through it all. I spent most of last night looking at NCAA stuff, so I'm a little behind on the NBA. But it'll be up by 1 o'clock when the Cash Game article comes out.
Yeah, I'm betting Piston Phoenix over 218.
There you go right there. Well, listen, I want to thank everybody for rocking along with us. Make sure that you subscribe right here on the Guru Elite YouTube channel. Rob, let's try to get you back tomorrow since we had a short stay. Let's try to get you back tomorrow and get ready for day 2 of the tournament. You cool with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, my man. So there you go right there. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you check us out. Don't forget the new site, EliteFantasy.com, your hub for DFS in 2019. Major League Baseball season getting ready to start, so you want to get involved right now. For Rob and Benny, I'm Corey Parson, the Fantasy Executive. We out.